Hey everyone, Pratiti Pathak here. Welcome to Unpacking Brain Drama, where we talk about real life experiences, the challenges, and the obstacles. Sometimes we use them to block ourselves, sometimes we use them to grow and evolve. Here's what I want to say: obstacles are not the things blocking our path, obstacles are the path. So, in other words, we have to grow through what we go through. So, join me as we have some amazing conversations with some amazing guests. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our very first episode of Unpacking Brain Drama. Today, I have an amazing first guest for you guys, Erik Cabral, who I have known and had the pleasure of having great friendship with for this past year of 2020 when we first met, right, Erik? We have been evolving, at least I have been evolving since I've met you. So today I have a guest here, Erik Cabral. Welcome to Unpacking Brain Drama.
Yeah, I appreciate you, and I appreciate being your first guest. It's an absolute honor to be here with you and to be asked. But I think back to the time when we first met physically in a live space, at the Reno winery, and things were were very different for me. And we have evolved, and I have evolved because we were running the show there. We were running a live event. Remember, as for the investors.
Yes.
My team was there. We were running back and forth, and making it was a virtual and live event.
Yeah, I sought you out like you were the Yoda for me. I was looking for you.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend, and I think Scott Binda said,
Yeah.
Pratiti wants to talk to you, and I was like, yeah, I got to run to the other side, and I'll be right back. And then you pinged me. Here's the weird, crazy thing that just goes to show you how the universe plans things. I had my Apple Watch on all the time. And my watch is the old school one where it doesn't have a GPS. It's useless without the phone. And my phone was recording the event. So I didn't have
That's
it on
right.
me. And I went hundreds of yards away from where you were. And my watch buzzed. And
That was amazing.
I saw the text from Scott that said, "Hey, Pratiti's leaving. Do you want to talk to her?"
Yes.
And then I ran back. I was like, I
Yes.
still don't know how that happened. Like how
I don't
my
know
watch
either,
buzzed
but
me.
I remember seeing you and I knew you were super busy and you couldn't talk. And I had to get out of there because it was a 2-hour ride for me home and it was late. So I was like, hey, here's my card. I need
Yeah.
to be with you right away. And then we jumped on a call just like this. And the very next day was PodMax, and you were telling me about it. And you were like, why don't you join us? And from there, literally, my life has transformed.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
because of all
Yeah.
of your connections. So, and you have so many really great new things going on right now. So tell me and tell our listeners what's going on with PodMax and you and all the great things you're
Yeah.
creating.
Yeah. I just want to say, I do love and appreciate you and everything you do, and your energy and your story and your passion for all things you touch. Um, I still think back to I'm sorry, I'm keep revisiting history here, but we were saying before the mics turned on that you were the first and I think the last person that was live in our studios recording the On Air Brands live show. So thank you for that. But also like a lot of marks in history here where, we met through during this transition, right, in the world, and we're still making through. We're still building business and relationships. So we're proof in that whole right concept that you can
Yeah,
still create long, strong, and lasting relationships, even if it's live or virtual.
absolutely. Yeah. I think that whenever anybody thinks that they can't connect in a certain way because they've got obstacles, they're going out of their way to put those obstacles in their own way. Because when you want to accomplish something and you're passionate about it, you love it, and it means something to you, it's just going to happen. It's
Yeah.
just going to happen. You're just going to make it happen. I've watched you guys grow and evolve since I've been a part of PodMax. Because it was like halfway through the year, right? You guys
Yeah.
started virtual events. When
Right.
did you start the virtual
May.
events?
Yeah, we were live. Our first live event was September of 2019, and then we did 3 live events
Mm.
that went into 2020. So our last live event was February of 2020, and then I met you, and then we we started to slowly see what was happening. And then we said, well, we can't just sit on our thumbs here. We got to
Yeah.
figure something out. So it took us a couple months, but then we launched the first live virtual event in May of 2020, and
Mm.
then had practically 9 or 10 virtual events after that, up until now.
Wow. Okay. So you've had, no, actually, we just had our 10th one.
Yeah.
You just had your 10th one, and I came on in August.
Yeah.
I've been
Okay. So
on since August.
you
Whoa.
probably came to the second or third virtual event.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, and it's done wonders. That's been the silver lining, honestly, Pratiti. All this time, when a lot of people are huddled in a corner, waiting for, things to
Un-
to get back.
Unravel and get back
Yeah,
to what they're calling normal.
exactly. And we're like, no, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna build it while it flies, and what happens, whatever happens, and we'll learn along the way. And that's been the silver lining is, wow, we've learned how to run really tight virtual events, right? And foster relationships and build, our network through a virtual event. And then we built a community, which
Yes.
maybe it would have happened live anyway, but because of the nature of virtual and anyone can plug into it, the community has grown, hundreds strong, global.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
and
So
and honestly, I don't think it could have. I don't think, and I'm just going to put this out there, real quick. I do not think that it could grow as quickly as it has
yeah,
organically, like in person live, because you'd have to physically be able to meet each one of those people by walking around and physically meeting every single person, versus having a virtual screen where you can physically see everybody and hear everybody. And then the chat room is probably the deal breaker for everything, because you get to have everybody's information. You get to mingle with everyone, even as one person might be talking or whatever. So being able to go back after the event and connect with each and every person through all of the
yeah.
digital outlets has been amazing. But we've been sitting here talking about Podmax, and our listeners do not even know what Podmax is. So could you please tell us all about your amazing event? What
Yeah.
led you to create this, and what's the vision there?
Yeah, I mean, to sum it up quickly for anyone, to understand is, I like to call it a speed dating event for entrepreneurs to meet podcasters. So anyone who has a business, it's perfect for, because then they're able to use this as a marketing tool for them, an added fuel to whatever they're doing, or maybe it's their only marketing, strategy, but it gets you on podcast efficiently in one day, as opposed to having to book these shows. It happens over weeks or months. We get to compress and make it all efficient for you. And then it's a networking event, as we've been talking about. It's a wonderful way to meet people and connect at a deeper level. And then it's also a training, event where we give advice, offer tools and tips and strategies before, during, and after the event. So if people like this journey and they want to be, podcast guests, or they want to become a host, such as you here now, because, this has been an evolution for you, which has been amazing to watch unfold, that we offer all that, right?
Yeah.
That we love and support anybody, like you, and the community that comes through that wants to evolve, as a guest or as a host or as an entrepreneur, in any way we can help. So that's really where it lies, first in podcasting and being a guest, and then eventually just becoming something that
Yeah.
you really couldn't expect. Yeah.
Absolutely, because when I first met you, actually, I actually came to the event solely to meet you. I drove to,
No.
and I did.
Why is that the first I'm hearing it?
Okay, I don't know. I thought that I professed my love to you the very first time we met.
You did that, but I don't remember you telling me you came to meet me. That's crazy.
Okay, so I came to meet you because I was in a virtual financial mastery class with Scott, and I mentioned to him, I'm super interested in podcasting. And
Yeah.
he said, I know a guy. And anytime you hear somebody say, I know a guy, you got to be a little weary. So I was packing when I came to see you, but I wanted to meet this guy. and
Yeah.
his name was Erik Cabral. And so,
Wow.
long and short of it, I literally drove that 2.5 hours, whatever it was, just to meet you. And
Wow.
then when I got there, I found out that the live podcasting event, like you guys were going to do a podcast and it got canceled. And I was like,
Mm,
what? But they were like, don't worry, the podcasting guys are still here. I'm like, okay, good, because that's who I needed to be with. So that's the story, dude. I came just to
wow.
see you. And
Yeah.
then I was misinformed on the time, so it got too late, and I was like, I
Yeah.
have to go. But
Hey.
yeah, so
Amazing.
that's how it happened. And when I met you, I was just somebody who wanted to share my story and have a chat. And
Yeah.
that's when you said to me, you are obligated to share this with people. And I was just like,
Mhm.
that's amazing. So your PodMax event is not just for people who own businesses, but people that
Mm,
have real live things to talk about and share that can help other people
yeah.
in their situations that may be feeling stuck or don't know how to shift or pivot during their times, right? Because the community that you've built there is so diverse. There's so many different types of people, and
Mhm.
that are in all different stages of their business, in their life. And I think that's what makes it so amazing, is we literally learn so much from each other just being there. So
Yeah.
since you've been helping everybody share all of their stories, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your story on how you got to be this creative and had this vision. Like, where did this vision even come from?
Eh, do we have a couple hours?
Yes, I have all the time in the world for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I wasn't always this, business entrepreneur. I was in the rat race. I was working for big corporations, Fortune 100s that, you know, had their mission. And I was one of the hands on deck, that was running around and pulling on oars and, pulling up sails and what do you need, and I didn't know anything outside of that. To me, it was always about being a cog in the machine, and
Mm,
and and that was okay, right? That was my path. That was what I was aware of, through what the history of going to school and getting a good job, and my parents telling me you need to get a good job and you need to go to college. What are you doing after high school? I don't know. And then my father says, thank God for my father, because he saw my passion. I didn't see it myself, but he saw me in my room drawing, illustrating, creating comic books, doing all these things with my hands and selling it to friends and putting it up on the walls and being part of art shows. And he drove me about an hour away, upstate New York in the Catskills, and he said, what do you think of this? And it was like a dream, drafting tables, printers, creatives, drawing, book, comics for Marvel and DC. And I was like, this is real? Like, this exists? And he said, it's called a commercial, at the time, commercial arts college, right? Commercial arts community college. So I went there for a year or two and got my associate's degree, and I continued doing this at the next level, and it evolved into graphic design. Went to School of Visual Arts in New York City. Spent a few years there educating myself and you know just absorbing as much as I could, and then just getting jobs in different creative agencies in New York City is really what my goal and my dream was, to work for these big agencies that you see in the movies, you know, and being an art director and having a team. So once I accomplished that, and I became the creative director at the time the number one pharmaceutical company in the world, I I I was like, I did it, but I don't feel good. I feel crappy. I feel sad. I feel, depressed sometimes. I'm not in the best shape of my life. I'm never home. My wife's pregnant with our second child, and I'm worried that I won't be there when that happens because I work so much. And then I just really did an audit of myself and my life and where I was going. And yeah, and then I discovered Rich Dad Poor Dad, changed my life.
Wow. Okay. My
Yeah.
God, that is so amazing. First of all, I think what's super amazing is, uh, I grew up with my parents having their vision of my life. And what I think is so amazing about your father is that he was actually able to put his own aside and see
Mm,
you, when you can really be in a space with somebody where you feel like you're seen for who you are deep inside of you, your core. And that's who
mm,
you are. You've always been this creative human. And it was obvious to your father. He went out of his way to like
mm.
hand it to you and say, check this out.
Yeah.
And even though you found yourself in a space later, are you glad that all of that took place before the audit?
Yeah, absolutely. Or I wouldn't be here talking, with you. I do want to highlight something that I think you'll connect to, and your audience will connect to, is there was, as much as I love my father and the path that he set me on, there was definitely a double standard. My older sister didn't get the same treatment. She was groomed and expected to become a doctor or a lawyer. My father spent a lot of time at the dinner table with her while I went
Mm,
to read comic books. Like it was okay for Eric to leave early, but she had to stay all night
that's so
talking to
interesting.
him, and the pressures that he applied on her and not to me. I mean, he would say to us both, failure is not an option, like, and it didn't necessarily stick with me, obviously, because I found it later in life to be, a way to learn lessons and to get better and improve. But I think it really hit hard with my sister. So the pressure to become a lawyer and then take the bar and pass it with flying colors and then do everything that they expect her to be. I did recognize, and I do feel bad for the double standard that's baked into our culture, the Filipino culture.
Mm.
That I don't know why you would think it'd be the man. I guess maybe it's like, we know he'll figure it out. He's a man, but we got to pay attention to you or else you'll screw up. I
Yeah.
don't know where it came from, but yeah.
No, I can totally relate to that because growing up with parents who only had two daughters, um, I always used to joke around and say that I was like my dad's firstborn son because I was the one that was dangling upside down by my feet, while I'm like cleaning out the gutters to save money.
Oh man.
He's like, I got you. But scary times probably helped me with the construction later
Oh.
doing roofing. But to be quite honest, you're absolutely right. My father's focus was so much on my education, like. I remember, thank gosh too. I remember there were times where I'd have a project due, I had to do a poster board or a paper or something. And, I had 2 weeks to do it, but I was like, it's due tomorrow and I don't have a poster board. And my dad's like, ah. So, but he would stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning and
Mm,
like, he'd probably wanted to kill me, but at the same time, like made sure that I got everything done. And I think what you're referring to is you as the boy, you're looked at and viewed as strong and smart, and you are able to fall down and get back up without
mm,
getting hurt,
mm,
whereas with little girls we have to make sure that we hold her hand the whole way but very strongly,
mm.
with a stick in
Yeah.
the other hand to say, you got to do this right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your life will be doomed. He'll
Mm,
figure it out.
mm.
There's less worry about something going wrong with you. Whereas with
Yeah.
us, we have to be strong women. Otherwise, a man could take advantage of us. And I
Right.
think that is also a part of the cultural fear. And I think that's almost universal in certain cultures. I mean, I'm Indian, and I know that it's like that with a lot of different cultures.
Yeah, yeah, especially in the overall Asian community, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure applied on us to be academic, right? And to be less creative. And if you're creative, okay, that's a risk. There's no money in that.
Risk.
Yeah,
Risk
yeah,
would be the word.
Yeah, and I know a lot of, family and friends, growing up where the girls really, man, I mean, so much pressure, so many issues that are just deep rooted, right? To please the parents. Every move in life and the decisions made are based on what will my parents think, right? And I didn't operate like that ever, ever. And
Wow.
I think, like you said, and you pointed out, as a male in the house, um, there was less concern and worry that I'll make mistakes, and if I do, yeah, he'll figure it out. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Versus, my sister, who it's like, you can't make a mistake. Literally, they would say, they pounded it into her head. You cannot make mistakes. I mean, how do you do anything in life if you can't make mistakes?
Oh, let me just tell you, at 50 years old, I think it only happened to me a couple years ago where I decided, because even there's times that I mess up now where I'm like, I'm shopping in the store, and before buying a blouse, I have to think and ask to myself, can I wear this in front of my mother?
Wow.
Is
Wow.
am I allowed to buy this? And I'm going to be 52 for gosh sakes. And I still
Yeah.
think about
You.
when I'm going to see my parents or other family members, that I'm dressed in a way that, makes sense for everybody, not just me. And today
Mm,
I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care about that anymore. I'm just going to do me.
good for you. Yeah. You look amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah. There's no way. But yeah, it's interesting, the dynamic. And I definitely had my share of reprogramming that I had to do when I left the house. The relationship between my father and mother was not always the best, and so I tried my best to overly love the women in my life,
Mm.
to the point where it was a problem, because it took me a long time to get over, ex-girlfriends. It took me, like, I would mourn the loss for years, instead of getting over it. And I'm like, I'm not dating, and years would like go by. I'm like, this isn't healthy,
You're
like
like, I
I
need to
should.
take a break.
Yeah, and I just don't think it was healthy. And during that time, yeah, I was figuring myself out. But my relationship with women definitely was affected by the relationship between my father and my mother, and that I also found that the programming of, even though he didn't say it to me directly all the time, failure is not an option. When I finally read the quote, Pratiti, that failure is success in progress, that was such an aha moment to me. Failure is success in progress. What? And it like became my mantra for years when I started businesses, because I was like, I'm supposed to make mistakes. And then I hear the Tony Robbins and the Jim Rohns talking about, we don't tell children when they're learning to walk, like, just give up, stop, you're going to get hurt. We allow them to fall. We allow them to get hurt. We allow them to run and scrape their knees. They learned because of these things. And finally, it gave myself permission to make mistakes and figure it out along the way, and put it out there to you, to the audience, to the community, like, hey, this is where I screwed up, and here's what I learned from it. Yeah.
I think that's probably the most important key right there is the willingness to share your mistakes. There's so many of us that are more afraid to go out on stage for opportunity for humiliation than we are afraid to die, right? Like, I'm willing to take the chance that I might die by speeding on the highway, but I'm not willing to go on stage because people might laugh at me, or I might trip or freeze or mess up what I'm going to say. And it's when you allow yourself to just feel the feelings and you're okay with feeling those feelings of humiliation, embarrassment, messing up, screwing something up, and allowing people to judge you, that's when growth comes. And when you can actually look at the things that you have messed up or you could have done better and you share that with someone else, I think that's where the true growth for even yourself takes place.
Yeah, and the bravery and the confidence to put it out there with little to no concern what people are going to think, because I think people are hesitant to share their lessons learned or their failures because they're worried about what people are going to think. Like, is this going to affect my business because people aren't going to trust me because I put this out there? Things like that, like, hold us back from sharing these ideas, for sharing these experiences with people. And you know what? Not everyone thinks about or is able to reflect. I know I have to take time out from my day to write down and revisit and replay scenarios that happen, because if I don't, life moves on. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not reflecting. I'm not becoming self-aware. But we have to take the time out and carve out, what happened to me? How could I have done that better? And what am I going to do next time?
I agree.
So it's really and why you and I are here and why we know each other. It's all about the path of self-development. Like, how do we continue to get better? We're never going to be perfect, but we're always going to strive to get closer and closer to that. and I
Absolutely.
and that's huge for me. Like, self-development and being around people like you who all have that same mission in life to improve and improve the people around us. It's huge wins.
I agree. And the one thing that stands out for me the most, and I think that it's something that has hurt me in the past, and I see it so much just talking to people in general, especially with clients, is I agree that we're so worried about what somebody else might think, which is what holds us back. But when we think about that in itself, we're really saying all of the judgments that we have. We're already saying
Yes.
out loud that I am going to judge myself when I mess
Mhm.
up, and I am going to beat myself up. So many times we're afraid of taking the risk to the point that we just fail ahead of time by not trying at all,
Right.
right? Because when you think about it, anytime I like style my hair or I get dressed in the morning and I decide what I'm going to wear, what am I really saying to myself? How do I look? Are people going to think that I'm looking okay? But if the thought is originally that I think that I look okay, it wouldn't matter what anybody else thought
Yeah.
about how I looked. And one of the things that we kind of get stuck with is always thinking that we should have done something differently. I think self reflection is amazing so that we can understand how we can do something differently next time. But there's a huge difference between saying how we could do something next time versus how we didn't do it right the last time. And I just
Mm.
want people to know
Mm.
you're always doing it right. We are always doing it
Mm.
right.
Right. I
We
like
are
that.
always doing it right, because anytime we think we should have done it differently, it's because we have a new awareness, even if it's
Mm.
2 seconds after we just yelled at our kids, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh shit, I could have rolled my tongue back on that one. But it's
Hmm.
only because now we heard it and we thought
Yep.
about it and had a different thought. But in that moment, we're always doing it the best way that we think. We're never doing it going out of our way to think we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%. You remind me of this is really deep. So,
And you know how I love
yelling.
that.
Yeah. Like, so I'm going to go down the path because you inspired me to I share this. Um, if I do, and this is something of the past for me, and I've improved on this definitely, is if I yell at my kids, for example, I always feel crappy. Can we swear on the show?
Yes.
I always feel shitty, right? And I beat myself up. Like, why did I do that? That was terrible. Well, I had to figure out it's me, it's not them. What am I doing that's making me unhappy, impatient, short fused? What's going on in my life that I could do, that I have control over, so that next time that scenario presents itself, I'm not flying off the handle because I'm better. I'm more aware. I'm grounded. I'm in my practice of yoga and meditation. I'm doing things so that I'm prepared, like going to the gym, right? And stretching and exercising. When it comes time for me to lift a boulder, I'm prepared, right?
Love
Because I
it.
put the reps in. I could lift that car off someone who's trapped underneath because I've been working out. I'm there to help because I'm preparing for the day that eventually will happen. So now, because of that adjustment that I've made, and thank you for everything that's happened, not you personally, but yes, you also, but everything that's happened over the past year plus helped me to discover myself in meditation, in yoga practice, and doing things so that I every day pay attention to me first, so that I can help others, help my family, help my wife, help my kids, by putting the oxygen mask first on me, and then I can help others, because I can't help anyone if I am not at top, the top of my game.
100%, 100%. If you and I love that, and I think that you're amazing just for saying that out loud, because um when you wake up in the morning, and you're somebody who, like me, has great systems for first thing in the morning. We take care of our physical body, we take care of our mental health, we take care of everything to do with us, so that the very first appointment you go on, the very first thing you do, even if it's just checking your email, responding back to an email, you show up 100%. And you, like me, do things throughout the day. Like, we have a protocol for food and diet and
Mhm.
exercise, so that we're not depleting all day long. We're doing little practices that
Yeah.
keep us 100% all throughout the day, so that we're
Mhm.
not at the end of our day feeling like shit and then
Mhm.
taking it out on the dog or the significant people in our lives. And I think that is so important for people to know how, like that is like that's something that should be a deal breaker, like that you cannot not take care of yourself first. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't even start your day unless you've like addressed yourself first.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's every day. Like you said, it's a practice, it's a ritual, that and a habit that you have to form. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, I was able to take advantage of our time, reflecting and everything being shut down, to discover this. It's always something that was on the top of mind, and I was always like, I'm going to do this, but I could never get in the rhythm. I could never form the habit. Finally form the habit of getting up at 5:30 in the morning, taking those first 2 hours or 3 hours of my day to do the things that we say, and know that it's going to have long-term benefits. It's going to compound. The dividends are going to continue to build for us, so that we're showing up, right, at the best we could possibly be. And the cool thing is, we attract the people that are also either looking for that and need answers, because they feel it in you that you have the answers, or which, aka could be your clients, partners, friendships, or, like I said, friends, people that like maybe are at the next level, and you're like, oh man, what are you doing in your practice? You tell me about TM, transcendental meditation. Like, right now I'm just doing it a certain way through, apps and all these other things, but I know there's other levels, and there's always something better, something new that you could test into your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what you try. It's okay that like, we don't have to be perfect the very first time. I say perfection is for scared people, like, you're afraid of doing something wrong. You're
Yeah.
so afraid of messing up that
Yeah.
you will actually not even attempt it until you think you're going to be perfect at it, which is just insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, just like you said about the meditation, it doesn't matter what meditation you decide to do, just try one. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to start out being 30 minutes, an hour. I mean, I can't tell you for how many years of my life I felt like crap because I couldn't meditate, and I was beating myself up because I'm like,
Mm.
how is it that you can't meditate? You're Indian, for God's sakes. You should be able to meditate. This is insane. Like, how is it, like, the amount of bullying I have done to myself is just
Mm.
above and beyond anybody else's opportunity to bully me. It was like, please step aside.
Yeah.
I've beat
Yeah.
the crap out of myself way more than you could ever beat the crap out of me. Right?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. So
That.
that goes back to, we're always doing it right. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you're trying to put out there. Stop striving for the A plus. Put the B minus out there. The A
Yeah.
plus will happen after you do enough B minus. You'll go to B and B plus and then on.
Yeah. Exactly.
So true.
And there's nothing wrong with being consistently B minus. That's probably better than most people who are
Because you'll
doing
at least
nothing.
get it out there. You'll at
Right.
least get it out there. There's
Yeah.
so many people that won't make the offer because it's not right yet. It's not right yet. It's like,
Yeah.
it's an offer. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Find out why you got the no. Be happy for the yeses, but understand why you got the no's so you can make that adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, you have accomplished so much. in your life and you're successful in so many different areas of your life. I know a lot of people just think about success as a business or a financial aspect, but being successful in your personal relationships, which you are, definitely Yoda at that. um, for sure. I
Appreciate
could
that.
tell I'm a Star Wars fan. Um,
Me too. Huge Star
much
Wars
to learn you have.
fan.
That's what my son would be saying all the time. So let me ask you something. I know that when we first had our conversation, we almost brought each other to tears talking
Yeah.
about culture and the importance of I think I was sharing a story about how amazing my son growing up with extended family in my household being raised by me, my parents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles
Mm,
and cousins and everything. And
yeah.
is there anybody that stands out for you like that, that's been like just crazy? Like, who's been the mentors of your life, who's been super support system in your life, like who's really boosted you and given you the confidence at times where you didn't have it for yourself?
Yeah, it's, without a doubt my parents. I mean, they were not perfect and still are not perfect. Uh
Because they're human.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's funny because when you do see other parents, from afar, friends, parents, whoever, relatives, parents, and you're like, man, they're so perfect. Like you want to live in their house, right? You're like, why can't I live with Uncle Jess? It's like it's just grass is always greener. But I would never have replaced, because what they were the perfect yin and yang, even though they weren't perfect. Because my father taught me what it was like, how to be a man, like how to carry myself, how to have confidence, how to not take no for an answer, just to be aggressive in life. Um, it's funny because he didn't lead by example every time, but I did watch him and how he operated and how he spoke to people. He was a sales guy, and I would see him. He would take me on runs, and I would watch him and how he spoke to people, and I learned a ton during those those drive-throughs. And um, my mother was the one in my corner, like Mickey in Rocky's corner, just like, you could do it, catch the chicken, Rock. Like she was always in my corner. And she could, in order to do what we do, Pratiti, we have to believe that we can move mountains. And if someone else tells you otherwise and you're not bulletproof mentally, physically, spiritually, you'll falter. Like you'll give into those fears. You'll give in. My mother never, ever, ever made me feel like I couldn't accomplish something. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I love that. That's how we're so connected that way. I love to cry together with you. It just brings so much happiness to me, really. You know what? It is very, very true. And for so many of our young folks out there, they don't have that person to feel super confident about them. And so many times it's tiny little things that get said that decrease the confidence, or you put on a belief that comes from a place of not understanding what it is that you heard, or not understanding what was meant. So many of our beliefs we put on as children, when we don't have the maturity to understand where it came from, somehow we think that everybody, like, we understand that our parents aren't perfect in all the other areas of their life as human beings, but somehow we think they're supposed to be perfect as parents,
Right. That's so true.
which is interesting. We're humans, we're not perfect, we're never going to be perfect.
Mhm.
We're always going to be right. We're always going to be doing it right in the best way that we think it should be done. We're always going to be exactly where we're supposed to be at that moment.
Right.
And what I think is really important to recognize as we're growing up is not put so much emphasis on the things that we think are going wrong, being said wrong, being done wrong, all the wrongs, and this is not the way it should be,
Mhm.
is what's going to hold us back. And take time to notice all the great things. There might be a couple shitty things that we're growing up with, but take time to recognize that there's lights on in the house and that there is a
Yeah.
house. Take time to recognize there's food and there's game night and we have
Mhm.
people in our lives that care about us, and focus on the people that are supportive and are saying, like, if your mom only says once in a while, you're such a good boy. Focus on that. Don't focus on her saying, when are you going to clean up this room?
Mhm. Yeah.
Focus on the positive things that are going on in your life right now,
Mhm.
because it's very easy to get distracted by all the things that we think aren't going the way that they're supposed to be going.
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier about, our thoughts are really everything. It really dictates our life. It really dictates our mood, our path, everything. So if you can and understand and know that your thoughts that's the one thing you can control. And if you're able to control your thoughts and start to focus on the things that you need to focus on in order to be happy, like whenever mom says you're the best, the one time out of 100, or the one time somebody said, hey, you're really amazing at this, but it's your boss and your boss is like, okay, he's always badgering me. Same thing. It's like, it's what are you focusing on? Same thing with what's happening in life right now. Right. I'm focusing on the positive, the silver lining, the things that we can do and can grow and evolve within this, what's happening, rather than, oh, woe is me, and oh, the president, and oh, the economy, and everything shut down. Yes, I think of those things, but I don't focus on those things. And that's
I
that's that's
agree.
that's powerful. It
It
gives you the
is.
power.
That's exactly what we teach. I mean, my company is results by design, and
Mhm.
our results are created by our thoughts. And when you have, I like to look at them like there's a platter of thoughts. Why are you choosing this thought when you could have any thought,
I love it.
right?
That's
Why are
great.
you choosing to think
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yeah, because that thing on the platter is toxic. That thing, although it may taste good when it's going down, it's going to have a long term effect on you. For
Yeah.
example, television, movies.
Oh,
As much as I love and want to indulge, if I do too much of it, Pratiti, I feel it. I feel
yeah.
sad because I'm reflecting what I was watching, or I feel an emotion, or it seeps into my brain at night. And my brain's trying, it doesn't know that I watched a movie. It's trying to analyze what I just watched. And
Right.
like, I can't sleep because of it. So I'm like trying to be very aware, because I'm of the old, Eric 1.0, that consumed and binged shows and
Me
movies and all
too.
that crap. And I would go into work and everyone's watching the same crap. And we're like, why are we all feeling depressed collectively? Because we're all watching The Walking Dead and we're talking about it and it's a depressing show. And that's why we all feel depressed. It's like, what do you consume? What are you putting into your mental factory is so important. And you have to, even if you want to indulge, just like with junk food, you have to be
Yes.
right, everything in moderation.
Listen, whatever you think is evil out there, you could say, God, the devil, you could say positive, negative, but listen, that negative is trying to tear you apart every single
Mm-hmm.
day. You have to kind of walk around it to see to find the positive stuff that's going on in the world,
Yeah,
and stay away.
absolutely.
And just have to be very careful what you put into your mind and body, just like you take care of it in the morning by working out.
Yep.
Part of working out is not putting in the bad stuff.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I
Exactly.
love it. Oh my gosh. This has been so amazing, Eric. If somebody wants to jump onto Podmax with you, if they're a host, if they're a guest and they want to share their story, like me, I was never a guest. I didn't know anything other than listening and consuming podcasts. But I
Yeah.
was like, hey, I want to talk out there in the world. I want to be bossy and tell people stuff. So how does somebody find you? How do they join? What do they
Absolutely.
do?
I have something for your audience. It's it's if they go to podmax.co/masterclass.
Mhm.
So that is a free course that we love to offer anyone that wants to figure out who we are and what we're about. Really to talk about your voice, your ability to share your story. We talk about the 4 C's there, which clarity, community. There's just things there that I think people will just consume, understand, and then bring what they've learned to a PodMax event. So when they're ready, they can come to PodMax, and hit the stage and get on the mic.
I love it. I love it. So I am working with your team right now to
Yeah.
put my voice out there even more. And that's been, like I said, it's been transformational. Just knowing you.
Wow.
To
Thank
be
you.
honest, it has literally changed my life. I
Wow.
mean that with all of my heart. I love that I have met you, and look forward to getting together more in
Yeah.
person for
Let's
sure.
do it. Definitely.
One thing I do want to ask you is there any piece of advice that you would give to your younger self that maybe they would have loved to have known, or it would have been super beneficial to hear?
Yeah, it's what I mentioned earlier. I would tell my younger self that it's okay to fail. Trip, fall, experiment, play around. Don't worry about what people are going to think of you. Just keep moving forward, and don't let those failures, air quotes,
Yes.
hold you back from trying. And from how many people did I not meet because I was afraid to walk across the room and have a conversation? How many opportunities did I let pass me by because I was afraid to step up? So those are the things that I probably would impart on my younger self.
Yeah, just ask that girl out. Don't be
Exactly.
scared, right?
Exactly. But if
Well,
I
thank
did do that, then I wouldn't be here talking to this girl. So
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Oh my gosh. So it has been an honor. Thank you
yeah,
very
thank you so
much.
much.
And
I
how
appreciate it.
amazing for you to be my very first guest. It only
Oh,
makes
so
sense. I couldn't have anybody else.
I appreciate you, Prachi. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. See you guys. Thank you for listening to Unpacking Brain Drama podcast. You'll find links for all the things mentioned below in the show notes. And it would be incredibly awesome if you would take a quick moment to leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. If you'd like to be considered as a guest on our podcast, be sure to go to www.resultsbydesigncoaching.com for a free 30-minute coaching session. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.